Hello, in this Photoshop tutorial I will show you how to enhance eyes in Photoshop using filters. The result that you see here is a bit extreme, just so you can see the result, but you can change the intensity of the effect to your liking. Let me show you the original image, which is this, and this is what we're going to create. So I'll start over again. I'll group this and drag it below my image. We're going to work non-destructively, so we will create new layers, and we will start by first selecting the the elliptical marquee tool, and we will zoom in a bit because it will be easier to make the selection. And what we want to do is select the entire eye, and we will click here inside the pupil, and if you want to constrain the selection to keep the proportions, what you can do is press and hold the Alt key, and you can see that what this does is it expands the selection from the point where you clicked, and this is what we want because otherwise you can see how we select on the outside of the eye. So press and hold the Alt key, and if you also want to keep the aspect ratio, what you can do is press and hold the Shift key as well. And by holding these two keys, you can see we can constrain the proportions, we can create a perfect circle, and also we are expanding the selection from the center, from the point where we clicked. And we will select the entire eye like that. And when you're ready, just let go. And now we have to exclude this top part from our selection. And in order to do that, we have to change the selection mode here on the top and put it to intersect selection. So let's click that, and we will use the same rectangular marquee tool, elliptical marquee tool, and we're going to create a selection like this, but you can see that it does not select the area that we want. So we can move the selection before we actually let go the click. So just pressing and holding the space bar, you can move the selection whatever you want, place it there, and then let go the space bar and continue making your selection. What we want is to match this eye line, and you can see the top part will be excluded. If I let go now, you can see that the top part here is gone because we are just keeping the parts that are intersecting with each other. So we had this circle and then this part here that was intersecting, and the top part was excluded. Okay, now we have the selection. We can right click and choose layer via copy, and we will rename this layer to left eye. And now we will do the same for the right one. Let's zoom in a bit more. Again, we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to start from the center, click there once, press and hold the Shift and the Alt key, and expand our selection to select the entire eye. If you also press and hold the space bar while you do this, you can move the selection wherever you want. For example, if you didn't select the center from the beginning, you can move the selection and then continue. Okay, now let's do the same thing. Well, with the intersect, we already have it selected, so let's start making our selection like that. Press and hold the space bar and move it right there. The only thing you want to worry about is that your selection is covering the lower part there. Okay, so if I do it again, make it big enough to cover the whole selection, the bottom part of your circle, and you can see that that top part will go away when I let go. Okay, and again, let's right click and choose layer via copy, but first we have to select this background layer via copy, and let's name this right eye. Okay, now we have both eyes. Let's start making that effect on them. We will start with the left eye, and what we will do is we will use the elliptical marquee tool again, and again we have, this time it's important, we have to make the selection right from the center. So just click there, press and hold the Alt key again and the Shift key, and make the selection to be as big as our eye, but I have to move it like that and let go. This time we don't have to exclude the top part because we are going to apply an effect and then we will mask it. Make sure you have the left eye selected, the layer, and with the selection created, go to Filter, Noise, and Add Noise. Here we have to check the Gaussian distribution and make sure we have the monochromatic activated, and an amount of 10% is okay. You can add less if you want, but I will leave it to 10%, and I'll click OK. Now the noise has been applied. Make sure you do not change the selection, or just keep the selection, and now go to Filter, Blur, and choose Radial Blur. And from here, select the Zoom Blur method and change the quality to Best, and increase the amount to between 50 and 80%. Let's add 70%. And click OK, and you will see what the effect, well, this is the effect that we create. And now we have to create a layer mask for this left eye. Select the brush tool by pressing the B key on the keyboard. Make sure our foreground color is set to black, and here we have to remove the top part. If we actually hide the background layer, you can see how this looks like. And with this layer mask selected, I will set a hardness of about 50% and just start brushing around the eye. What I want is to have this outer black line to be more visible. I want this effect, the zooming effect, to be visible more on the inside of the eye. Maybe let's leave the hardness a bit lower and just gently brush around the eye like that. And also here on the top part of our eye, and also here in the middle. But for that we'll have to increase the hardness, because you will see that the edges here between the black part and the blue part of the eye, the transition is quite hard, so we have to keep that in mind. Have a hard transition, and just make a couple of clicks in there to remove the effect from the pupil, and you can see the effect there. Let's do the same for the right eye, and then we will deal with the color and the effect. So again, let's select the right eye, select the elliptical marquee tool, make our selection, and now go to Filter, Noise, and Add Noise. And this time the settings will be exactly the same that we previously used. Let's click OK, and now go to Filter, Blur, and Radial Blur. Make sure you do not change the center point here, because this is relative to our selection. So if you don't move it, it will zoom right on the center. Let's click OK, and this is our effect. Now let's create the layer mask, and with the brush tool we can refine the edges here and remove the effect from the very edge here, just like that. This is just to have a better transition and for the effect to be a bit more realistic. And let's not forget about the center part. Like that. Okay, now we have the effect ready. Let's change a bit the color. We'll select both layers, right click and choose Create Group or Group Layers, or you can also press Ctrl Command G, and we'll name it Eyes. And now I will create a hue saturation adjustment layer on top of it, and I will clip it to this group because I want this hue saturation to only affect my eyes here and not the whole image. So I'll right click and choose Create Clipping Mask. You can also press and hold the Alt key, and if you put the mouse between the two layers, you can see how this turns into this down pointing arrow, and you can clip this to the layer. If you cannot group your hue saturation to this group, what you can do is create two hue saturation adjustments and clip them to each individual group. I say this because on previous versions of Photoshop, like CS3 for example, you cannot clip adjustment layers to groups. So that's another way of doing it. And now it's up to you to make the changes that you want. You can change the hue of the eyes, you can increase the saturation, and you can also try blend modes for this hue saturation adjustment. For example, if you choose the color dodge, you will get a really intense effect. So if it's too much, you can drop the lightness and you can see how the effect is less visible. And of course you can change the hue and give the eyes the color you want, or you can change the saturation. You can also try to colorize and play around with the hue and of course with the lightness. And I think I like doing green, but that's too hard. The effect is too strong. So I'll decrease the lightness quite a bit. And I will leave it like that. And let me show you again the before and after. Original and with the effect. If the zooming effect is too strong for you, just select the group and decrease the opacity. But keep in mind that you will also decrease the effect and the color effect. Okay, so you will probably have to increase the lightness if you want to have the effect more visible. So this is one way of editing eyes in Photoshop.